Welcome and thank you for attending today's informational session on the Illinois State Bar Association's Rural Practice Fellowship Program. We have two of our Rural Practice Initiative Committee members with us this afternoon who are going to provide you with all the information we hope you need about the program. So I'll introduce them here first. They'll tell you a little bit about themselves, and then I will play a short video about the program that'll kind of give you a general overview, and then we'll go from there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Cindy Buys and Jordan Grummels, who are members of our committee who will be presenting for you today.
Hi, everyone. I am Professor Cindy Buys. I teach down at Southern Illinois University School of Law. And as Krista said, I am a member of the Rural Practice Initiative, and I'm excited to tell you about our program this afternoon. So I'll turn it over to Jordan to introduce himself.
Yeah, everyone, we appreciate your time today. My name's Jordan Grummels, as you can probably see. I'm a practicing attorney in Randolph County here in Southern Illinois. I have been practicing in Randolph County for 12 years. I'm part of a small firm who handles a lot of different matters. So hoping I can tell you a little bit about what it's like to practice in one of these areas. So we look forward to informing everyone about this program today.
Lawyers are crucial to any community. They become leaders, they serve on nonprofit boards, they volunteer their time, they become advisors to community leaders as well. And so it's vital that every community have lawyers who can play that role, not only to provide access to justice, but also to help develop the community itself.
My role is necessary in the community to kind of keep things moving, get LLCs formed and get estates through probate. Big decision moments for people. I'm able to help them out with that. And I know our firm wouldn't necessarily have the bandwidth for a lot of what I do if the program hadn't helped me find the job.
Just the variety of needs out there, which I think coming in, I didn't really expect to see such a variety of complex legal issues, honestly, whether it be corporate issues or, like I said, tax issues. Like, I just didn't compute that to be something that would be in my practice as much as it has been.
In a way, it's a lot like continuing law school, because I'm able to use a little bit of my trial ad experience, a little bit of my moot court experience, a little bit of my drafting experience in those classes, and I'm not atrophying any of that as I do 2 to 3 years of one thing.
My work here has shown me that you can represent people who don't have as much money. You can represent individual people who don't know that much about law. You can have a more laid-back work environment where you're not working 80, 90, 100 hours a week. That's something this fellowship has really opened my eyes to.
If we can get them here, we can convince them this is a great place to work. This is a great place to be. Here's the reasons why. We can sell that once we get them here. But especially when we're dealing with men and women that are coming out of law school, we cannot compete with salaries from Chicago. We can't compete with salaries from St. Louis. We can't compete with salaries from New York. The stipend that the program gives to the fellow makes what we can offer competitive.
We're really seeing some very positive signs that because of this very structured program, we're creating an environment or helping to create an environment where they're going to want to stay in rural areas. And I'm very hopeful about that. I'm very excited about that.
We're doing the vetting, we're doing the advertising, we're doing the soliciting. We bring the people into the program who've expressed interest, and we match them with our members at no cost to our members. You have the ISBA basically doing the heavy lifting, and we say, here are some folks that we've vetted and that you might be interested in interviewing to again, come to your community, become a part of that community, because all of our fellows have expressed an interest in moving to these rural communities.
But this is an area where the state isn't going to step in, private industry is not going to step in, charities won't step in. It's lawyers placing lawyers in these rural communities where legal assistance is important. And we know how important it is to be represented and not have to go pro se. Having an advocate on your side and having an advocate on both sides leads to reasonable resolution, agreed orders, and areas where conflict can be resolved peacefully and people can move on.
Your donation to the Rural Practice Initiative is crucial to help us sustain our program into the future. We want to make a lasting impact in rural communities and a lasting impact in the lives of rural lawyers and of law students and young lawyers who are considering moving to rural areas. Please help us to do that.
All right, on to you, Jordan. Thank you.
Well, again, welcome to everyone who has joined us for this informational session about the ISBA's Rural Practice Fellowship Program. We're delighted to have you all here today and to share with you this exciting program. I'm going to start us off with this PowerPoint presentation, and Jordan and I are going to trade it back and forth a little bit so we can provide you with some information. And then Krista will end with the application requirements for this year. So Jordan, go ahead and advance the slide if you would. So as you saw in the video and on this screen, this program has been in existence for 2 years. This year is our 3rd year, having started the program in 2020. And we started the program because we recognized that there were a number of legal deserts in the state of Illinois where people were not getting access to justice because there simply weren't enough attorneys in those areas of the state. And each year we've been able to match law students with law firms looking for summer associates and newer attorneys with firms where maybe the newer attorney wants to move to a more rural area and practice with a firm in that area. So there's really 2 different parts of the program that we'll be talking about. And so right now we are at the beginning of the process for this 2022-23 year in terms of accepting applications for the next program. Next. So you can see here that we have a number of legal deserts in Illinois, and I'm going to turn it over to Jordan to talk a little bit about those legal deserts.
Yeah, so this map, it was kind of shocking when I got into this program, actually as a member, to see how many legal deserts there were. But so it's becoming a real problem. For instance, I went to school in Carbondale, which is Jackson County down there at SIU. I practice in Randolph. I was born in Randolph. 19 attorneys to cover that whole county is a scary situation. Specifically, some of those are semi-retired. Some are your state's attorneys, public defenders who are only doing that. So there's a lot of work to be had, and you can't take every case. We do need more attorneys, and there's certainly, if you see the map, there's other counties who are hurting far worse than Randolph to do the work. But just because a county is smaller than St. Clair or Cook, it doesn't mean they have less of a legal need. They certainly have a population difference, but everyone needs family law help, corporate help. These communities and villages need attorneys to represent them. So in every county, every city, every village, the legal need is there. And this program was created to help make those spots more attractive for people. I practice pretty much from Madison County on south, all the way almost, sometimes I'm close to Indiana with some of my tax deed work. But I can tell you that in some of these other counties, you might not run into another attorney at a courthouse, even if you're there all morning. So the need is there, and we're hoping that we can help attract folks who are wanting to give this a shot to, come to these counties and see what you can do for us or do for yourself even. And you can see on this slide here, there's actually counties, again, Randolph, where I'm at, which I didn't know till I looked at this a few weeks ago. We have a critical need for attorneys, and there's probably almost, it looks to me by quick glance, that maybe almost half the counties in Illinois have a critical need for attorneys. So it is important, again, that we kind of get some folks in those counties, and hopefully folks would stay in those counties. And I think the biggest thing, I've always worked in one of these areas. So I'm not from Cook County or Madison County and decided to come down here. But one thing that I think people don't realize is you build a strong bond with the other attorneys in the county. You'll be working with them more often, and that's actually kind of priceless. Of our attorneys that we have in our bar association, we all, of course, are against each other sometimes, but I'd consider us all friends and more than acquaintances. And it makes it makes contested matters a lot easier, because everyone kind of works together to get their clients the best goal without anybody doing anything underhanded or anything like that. So I think it's certainly, again, this program is very, very valuable and very important. So we're really hoping some of you would be interested in trying it out. Don't know if I'm going too far or not, Cindy, past this. Sorry.
That's all right. I think that your comments are really fabulous in terms of demonstrating the need and also some of the benefits of practicing in a rural county. So, as I stated, the Rural Practice Initiative was created to place newer attorneys and summer associates in these counties so that they could experience what it would be like to practice in those counties and hopefully stay there long term. This particular map shows where we placed attorneys and law students during the first couple of years of the program, and you can move forward. You can see here that there were 14 fellows, 10 full-time associates, and 4 summer clerks in the first year, and then 12 fellows that were divided between 6 associates and 6 summer clerks in the second year that participated in the program. Next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, there are really 2 components to the program. One is that we place either brand new attorneys who have just graduated from law school and are taking the bar exam, as well as attorneys who've been out a few years but who are ready to make a change. And we take those attorneys and place them, match them really with firms that are looking for a younger associate to join their practice. And as the video indicated, what the ISBA does is we have done fundraising so that we can provide a stipend that supplements the salary that the firm is otherwise able to provide to the associate. So if you take one of these positions, you get the firm salary plus a $10,000 stipend from the ISBA. $5,000 of that is paid at the front end, meaning when you start with the firm, and at the end of your first year, you get the second $5,000. In addition, we really want to support your professional development. So we have a number of continuing legal education programs and professional development programs that you have the opportunity to participate in as an associate with the firm. And we also strongly encourage you and the firm to engage in some pro bono work. Again, part of this program is about increasing access to justice. Next slide. The second part of the program, for those of you who are not graduating this year from law school, is for summer associates. So if you are a law student in your first or second year and you're interested in a summer associate position for this summer, this might be a great fit for you. Again, we match you with firms that are looking for summer associates to work with them over the summer, and the ISBA provides a supplemental salary. So the ISBA will provide a $5,000 stipend in addition to whatever the firm is able to pay you for the summer. And it just makes these rural practice positions more competitive. The hope is that once you prove yourself to the firm, either as a summer associate or as an associate, and you've gotten through that initial training period, then the firm's going to want to keep you, that you want to stay, and that they're able to pay you a really competitive wage to make that happen. Next slide. So these are some of the benefits that I have mentioned, most of them already, I think, but it's assistance in identifying where there are openings, stipends to augment your salary, mentoring from the attorneys in the firm and from the local bar association, and frankly, from attorneys in the Illinois State Bar Association who stay very involved in the program and lead many of the professional development workshops. We hope that you're going to make lots of connections to rural communities. When you're practicing in a rural community, a lot of it is about meeting local people, business persons through the Chamber of Commerce, or maybe civics clubs like Rotary or Lions. That's where your clients are going to come from, getting to know local medical professionals or, small business owners and others. And so part of the joy of being in a small community and part of what's going to benefit your practice is making those connections. So we hope to facilitate that. And then that mentoring and that professional support will really help you develop the skills you need as a younger attorney in your new job. Next slide. For the firms, some of them really do have a hard time recruiting newer attorneys or law students. Sometimes we don't think about going to rural communities. We think about, the more established firms that are, or larger firms in cities and places like that. So it helps to make those matches between firms that need assistance and attorneys and law students who would like to explore this option. The attorneys who participate in the program through the professional development and CLE workshops do receive CLE credit. And they get to participate in a number of things that the ISBA offers. And again, because we're supplementing the salary of these associates and law clerks, the firm can often attract people who wouldn't otherwise consider starting their career there. Next slide. So you saw some quotes in the video about people who have participated in the program. I know there were a couple of attorneys who were supervising attorneys for the RPI fellows. Some of the quotes came from the actual students or new lawyers themselves. This is, of course, a quote from someone who was a supervisor and who was very happy with the program. Next slide. And of course, another thing that we're trying to promote is increasing diversity in the legal profession, and particularly in these more rural areas. I think sometimes when people think about rural areas in the state of Illinois, they don't think about very diverse populations, but we certainly have a very diverse population down here in Carbondale, Illinois, and in Jackson County. And we would like to have attorneys who represent the wide variety of clientele that we are serving. And so to the extent that we can use this program to promote the diversity of the profession as a whole, that's also a goal. Next slide. So we talked a bit about legal deserts, and we know that in counties that do not have enough attorneys, there are people who need legal assistance, but who are not receiving that legal assistance. And so if you have a passion for providing more access to justice, this is really a program that you should consider. Just because people have less money does not mean that they cannot afford an attorney, but often they have to travel long distances to be able to access an attorney. If there are only a couple of attorneys in the entire county, the attorneys may be conflicted out of the matter because they have represented, that party before, or they've represented a relative or related entity. And so we really need to make sure that we have sufficient legal counsel in each county so that everyone gets the access to justice that they deserve. Next slide. You can see here too that we are increasing not only attorneys who are working for pay, but we're also increasing pro bono services through this program. Many of the attorneys and the fellows in the program voluntarily provided pro bono assistance with our encouragement and support. In the future, this will become a requirement to participate in the program, that everyone do some pro bono work. And we hope, again, that this is going to increase access to justice in some of the more rural parts of the state. Next slide. Here we have a quote from one of the folks that you saw in the video, Parker, who was one of our first fellows and who had a really great experience with his placement, and who I think has really become a proponent of the program because of his very positive experience. Next slide. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Krista, and I think she is going to walk you through some of the more procedural parts of the program if you're interested in applying. So thank you very much. And I will stay on in case there are questions.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And I'm not sure I introduced myself at the beginning, but given my name here with the ISBA in parentheses, you probably figured out, but I am Krista, and I am Assistant General Counsel here at the Illinois State Bar Association, but I also serve as the staff liaison to our Rural Practice Fellowship program, or the committee that runs the program. So in any event, share with you the logistics here of the application process. The application for the 23-24 program will open on November 18th, and that'll be all done through the ISBA's website, and the address right there is under the Rural Practice webpage. And so if you visit the page currently, there's all kinds of information and videos and other things you can watch there, but the applications are not quite open yet, not for the next week. They will be open. In any event, so the application period runs from November 18th through February 3rd of 2023, and that's the deadline for all applicants. The applicants, there are two types of applicants. There are the fellows applicants, which would be law students and newer attorneys, and then the applicants of rural firms who would like to employ new associates or summer associates. So once the application deadline passes, what happens is all of the applications are reviewed to make sure they meet the standards of the program and the requirements. And once they're quote unquote approved for the program, the matching process begins. So when you fill out your application, you will choose locations geographically where you would like to be considered to be placed. And those are done by regions of the state. So the northern region, the central region, and the southern region. When you choose one or three or two of those regions, we will look at the firm applications and where those firms are located and matched by location. You will be sent a list of all the firms that will serve as your potential matches. It'll have their contact information, their application, all the information about the firm. And then that'll happen on the 17th of February or around that time. So between February 17th and March 24th, what happens is both sets of applicants review their potential matches, and they set up interviews just like you would normally do a job interview. And then by the 24th of March, if you have formed an employment relationship with a firm, you all would report that directly to the ISBA. And then at that point, we will review all of the employment relationships that have been created through that application and through that interview period. And by the 14th of April, the committee will make final decisions and announce the fellows for the 2023-24 program. That was kind of a lot of information very quickly, but please ask questions, or if you have questions, you can throw them in the chat about that process, but that's generally it. Again, the applications will open on the 18th, about a week from now, on the ISBA website, and we hope that you would consider taking a look and applying. I guess we'll open it up for questions at this point, Cindy.
Yes, please let us know if you have questions. As Krista said, you can raise your hand, unmute yourself, or you can put a question in the chat, but we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. We probably can stop the screen share at this point also. We'll give it just a moment to see if anyone formulates a question.
Actually, I'll start it off. I'm Gina Hunter. I'm the Director of Academic Success at NIU, also an SIU grad. So, I wanted to just ask you, how many people typically apply in any given year?
So that's actually a great question for Krista. She handles the applications and probably has a better handle on how many people actually applied.
Absolutely. Let me pull that information for you. There is, while I'll look for that information really quickly, I have it. I just need to find it. There is a question in the chat, I believe, Cindy, if you want to see if we can address.
Okay, so I'll take the most recent question I saw first. And the question is, are these positions open to 1Ls, 2Ls, and 3Ls? And yes, the summer associate positions are for 1Ls and 2Ls who will be available during this coming summer. And then for the 3Ls, you would be looking at a full-time position with a firm after you take the bar exam. So it's two different programs. One is a summer program for current 1Ls and 2Ls, and the other is a fellowship program for after you graduate. There is a question here, what if you already have an employment connection with a rural firm? And that does not disqualify you from the program, but you would need to go through the same process that everyone else goes through and have the firm qualify and the individual qualify for the program. There's another question about emailing the slides. And Krista, I believe the PowerPoint is available on the website. I don't know if you have shared it with the various law schools already. You could probably also answer that question about how to access the slides.
Absolutely. I have not shared the PowerPoint with the schools yet, but I will when we have recorded this session, and we'll send a whole packet over to the schools so that you could obtain more information if you didn't catch it in the first round of the slides.
Okay. And then there's another question about whether this is an entire summer or if it's possible to do a split summer. The intent of the program really, I think, is for the whole summer because of the stipend that is being offered. However, I will defer to other committee members and to Krista if we've had a split summer experience that I'm not aware of.
No, Cindy, so far that have been strictly all summer positions and then permanent positions.
All right, thank you.
And I do have last year's numbers ready here. For this current year's program, where the fellows who are currently in the program, there were a total of 50 fellow applications, and that included 33 summer clerk applications, 15 associate applications. And then as far as the firm applications, we had a total of 55 firms apply to employ. The firms can choose in their application if they'd like to employ a permanent associate or a summer associate, or either. Some are looking for either. And so those are broken down in that 55. We had 23 that were looking for permanent associates. We had 28 that were looking for either a permanent or a summer associate, and 4 looking purely for clerks. That was like I said, this current year program. The year before, which was our first year, we had a little bit more than those numbers, but not too much more. So they're pretty consistent so far in the program.
Thank you, Krista. And so you can see that there's actually quite a need and an interest. You know, if we are having between 50 and 60 firms apply every year for one of these fellows, whether it be a summer associate or a full-time associate, there's quite an interest in the program. We have been able to place, I think it was 12 or 14 each year with firms. Of course, some of that depends on the matching. So you might apply, and a firm in the geographic area or county that you're interested in might have a need, but after you interview with that firm, it's also possible that you end up deciding it's not a good fit for you. So it does not commit you to taking that job, but we try very hard to give you some matches that will be a good fit. I see that Sarah Taylor has her hand up, and we'll welcome Sarah. She is our committee chair. So Sarah, come on and jump in.
Hope everybody can hear me. I just wanted to say, first of all, how great it is to see all of you here. Really excited that you're all interested or at least are here and listening to us. I just want to say, as further support for the program, that I personally have worked in a rural area, actually in Carbondale, for the last almost 20 years now. And one of the best things about it is that I got to hit the ground running. So if you're interested, you're sitting there and you're thinking, what I want to do is sit in a room and do nothing but rediscovery for 2 years. That is not what you do in a rural area. In a rural area, you do rediscovery if you do litigation, but you're also in the courtroom right away. I know Jordan gets to go to various courthouses. He gets to see all kinds of different things in different areas of his area doing tax deeds. You get to immediately sit down with clients, and do it with learning. You're not going to be thrown into anything like into the deep end or anything, but it's just a fabulous way to really start building those client relationships and start really learning from a practical standpoint right off the bat. And that's not something that you're necessarily going to get in a large urban firm, but it is definitely something that you will get in a smaller town. You really will get that extremely fast experience. So just want to throw that out there because that's something that I really appreciated. I also had the opportunity to do several different kinds of law, and that was great too. It's great experience, interesting. I don't have the longest attention span, so for me, it was great to be able to know, oh, I'm going to do family law, I'm going to do guardianships, I'm going to do estate planning, and have that opportunity. So I really hope that some of you will apply. I think it will be great for us and for our program if you do, obviously, but it would also, I think, be a great experience for you if you participate. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. And Jordan, I don't know if Sarah's comments prompted anything else that you might like to share about rural practice.
Well, I was going to say kind of what she did say, that's one thing I forgot to mention that, when I clerked for the firm that I'm now a partner of, but I did hit the ground running also. And I think law school provides you with tools you need to get started, but having a firm that you can work closely with will provide you with the rest of the tools you need. I did get to learn a lot of stuff while I was still in law school. I was doing work comp. I was doing actual appellate briefs. My partners took me to work comp oral arguments, appellate oral arguments. So I got to do a lot more than just sit at my desk. And I think you will find those rural firms are a great opportunity for that. And I think within 2 days of having my license, I was already doing something contested in court. And I wasn't very nervous about it other than it being my first time because I'd already went to court with my partners and I've did these things before. And I got to do, they made it a point and I would make it a point too. If I ever have an associate, it's not just going to be dump work on you because I'm busy. Like, these smaller firms specifically, in my experience, they want to teach someone who wants to stay. We're not doing this just to fill a seat. We're doing this because we need people and we want to teach people. So I would just add to that. And one of the perks, I think, in a smaller firm in a smaller area, whereas I'm not knocking the big firms at all. It's just not what I do, but you may never be a partner at that firm. When you're at smaller firms and you can do your work on the side, plus the work of your bosses, if you will, you can make a name for yourself a lot quicker in these rural areas. And you may have a better partner track or a lot more experience than someone else who's been doing it just as long as you by the time you're done with your fellowship. So that's kind of what I would add.
Thanks, Jordan. And I saw we did have another question about whether the expectation is that these are largely full-time positions in the summer. And I believe the answer to that is also yes.
Just to supplement that, Cindy, the actual requirement is full-time work for at least 8 weeks in the summer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll give it one more minute just to see if there are any other questions. So is there assistance for finding housing for students who are interested in the program? There may be, certainly the hope would be that your firm would help you identify appropriate housing, but there may be members of the Rural Practice Committee who also are familiar with the area. And, if you were to reach out to the RPI committee, there might be some of us who would be able to help with that as well. So it's probably more dependent on where you're going to be, but certainly the hope would be that the firm would be helping you identify housing.
I know when we had a law clerk, we helped them try to find a rental house for the summer down here. So I assume other firms would do something similar.
So Angel, who just spoke, is another member of our Rural Practice Initiative and one of our chairs, and she also has been a participant in the program. So there's a question about when making matches, is there a preference that it be within driving distance of where you currently live, or is it up to chance? Really, it's up to you. When you fill out your application, you would say, these are the geographic areas that I am interested in. And of course, we have certain counties that qualify for the program because they don't have sufficient attorneys. And then in part, it's dependent on the firms who also apply to be part of the program. So that's why we're talking about this matching. You know, you get to say, these are the counties that I'm interested in going to. And then we look to see if there are firms in those counties that are looking to hire. And then we try to match you up in those areas. So if you are chosen as an associate as a 1L, are you able to apply to the program again as a 2L, or is it a one-time only stipend? Because the program is fairly new, I'm not sure we've run into that question yet, but I'll ask Krista and if she knows the answer to that.
Sure. No, there is currently no restriction in place for, successive years of being awarded a fellowship. Of course, you'd have to go through the whole process and be considered among the whole pool again, but there's no restriction.
Thank you. So I want to give a special shout out to any of the directors of career services and other law school faculty and staff who are on the call. We really appreciate your help in getting the word out to the students and participating today. And we hope that you will continue to spread the good word about the program as well. So special thank you to those folks who joined us today and who helped to spread the word about the program. All right, I'm going to ask the committee members any final thoughts that you would like to share before we wrap up for today. Hearing none, I will just say thank you so much, everyone, for your time and attention, and I'll turn it back to Krista for any final administrative issues or words.
Thank you so much. And I'll just echo Cindy. Thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it. And again, and the schools have been great working with the administrators. What I will do is we have recorded this session. And so what I will do is we'll have it edited for any dead space in the recording. And I will send the link to each of the school career service offices to ask that we be distributed for anyone who couldn't attend. And as Cindy requested, we'll go ahead and include the PowerPoint presentation. That way, if you need to look back and get more details about the program, they are available to you. But again, thank you all for coming and enjoy the rest of your day.